And the AGM is being streamed live for the benefit of our shareholders, regulators, and others who cannot join us physically. In view of the above, other directors as well as the audit committee members are joining virtually. Therefore, this meeting is duly convened and properly constituted. May I request that somebody please say the opening prayers for us?
Let us pray. We thank you, O Lord, for bringing us together to deliberate on the way forward on our company, John Holt PLC. We thank you for the journey so far. We thank you for what you have been doing with us in the past and up to now. We thank you for your mercies on the directors and the management staff and all our workers. Also, the stakeholders of John Holt. Father, continue to be with us. We cannot do anything except you grant us the wisdom. We now appeal to you to please direct the affairs of this meeting. Direct the chairman, direct everybody that will be offering solutions or explanations at this meeting. At the end, O Lord, let us have cause to glorify your holy name. These and other things we ask in the name of our Lord Jesus Christ.
Amen. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you very much. There are 7 items of business before you today. You will all have an opportunity to move or to second each of the motions put to the meeting and to make contributions as you may wish. It is a requirement of the regulators that members should have the right to ask questions on their observations or concerns arising from the annual reports and accounts or on each motion before a vote is taken on it. Please ensure that you raise your hand, receive approval before you speak. Written questions received at the conference secretary no later than a specific date will also be treated. Microphones and amplifying equipment have been placed strategically so that everyone should be able to hear. I would therefore request that you speak publicly and comment by stating your names. The register of directors' shareholdings are available with the regulators, with the registrars for inspection during the meeting in compliance with the provisions of CAMA 2020. We have provided sanitizers, masks, and gloves at the venue, as well as the checking of temperatures and ensuring social distancing between our communities. Now, before we proceed to the more formal matters on the agenda, I would like to use this opportunity to announce the passing of the long-serving non-executive director, Mr. Paul Nunes, who slept in the Lord on the 14th of November 2021. Mr. Paul Nunes was with John Holt Group for 15 years. Can we all rise, please, for 1 minute silence in this honor? Also, during the financial year, Alhaji Sharif Yusuf, an independent non-executive director, resigned from the board, effective 31st of December 2023. I now introduce to you the other directors of the company. I am Christopher Eze, the chairman of our company. On my left, Dr. Christopher Eze, the group managing director, and Mr. Adeche Okeje, finance director. On my right are the company secretary, Mrs. Adam, and Mr. Adim Jibuna, non-executive director. The other director, Mr. David Pamley, is attending virtually. The shareholders representatives of the audit committee are represented by Chief Olu Akanji. Other shareholders representatives of the audit committee are Mr. Samuel Okwambo and Christopher Wambo. I also introduce the representatives of the Securities and Exchange Commission. They were invited. The Stock Exchange, not the wrong boat. Our auditors, Mr. Ruben. Our registrars, Iberima Duboise, Agnes Molara, and others. Corporate Affairs Commission, they informed us that they will not be able to join the meeting, but to join us. I wish also to introduce the shareholders present, who are also acting as proxies for the shareholders that cannot be physically present due to the pandemic. There is Sasson Mosu. He's on his way. Chief Timothy Adeshino, and myself, the chairman. Now call on the company secretary to please read the notice of the meeting.
Is always okay.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. All protocol duly observed. The notice of the meeting is found on page 6. I read. Notice is hereby given that the 60th annual general meeting of the members of the Ogbos PLC will be held at Radisson Blu Hotel, Victoria Island, Lagos on Thursday, 30th of June 2022 at 11 a.m. to transact the following businesses. 1. To lay before the meeting the director's report and financial statements of the year ended 30th September 2021, the report of the auditors and the audit committee thereon. 2. To re-elect directors. 1. Chief Christopher Eze. Special notice is hereby given in accordance with the provisions of CAMA 2020 for the election of Chief Christopher Eze as a director of the company, notwithstanding his over 70 years. 2. Mr. Adeche Okeje. 3. To authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. 4. To disclose the remuneration of the managers of the company in line with the provisions of the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. 5. To elect members of the audit committee. Special business. 6. To fix the remuneration of directors. 7. To consider and pass the following resolution as an ordinary resolution of the company. that the general mandate given to the company to enter into recurrent transaction with parties for the day-to-day operations in compliance with NGX rules governing transaction with related parties or interested persons be and is hereby renewed. By order of the board, Adam Bosha, Company Secretary. I crave the indulgence to consider the notes as read. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Before we move to item 1 on the agenda, let me present to you the chairman's statement contained in page 10 of the annual report on the account already circulated. Okay. Agenda item 1. We will now move to item 1 on the agenda. Ensure that you have the report and the accounts of the period ended 30 September 2021. The first item is to lay before the members in general meeting the consolidated financial statement for the period ended 30 September 2021, together with the reports of the directors, auditors, and the audit committee. No resolution will be proposed. The members are invited to make comments on the financial statements and reports. I now call on the representative of our auditors to read the report of auditors, which is on page 25 to 27 of our now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, sir. Good morning, Director, Chairman, Directors, shareholders, and all other protocols observed. Report of the independent auditors to the shareholders of John Holt PLC and its subsidiary companies. Report on the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Opinion. We have audited the accompanying consolidated and separate financial statements of John Holt PLC, the company, and its subsidiary companies, together the group, which comprise the consolidated and separate statements of financial position as at 30th September 2021, the consolidated and separate statements of profit or loss and other comprehensive income, consolidated and separate statements of changes in equity, consolidated and separate statements of cash flows for the year then ended, and notes to the consolidated and separate statements, including a summary of the significant accounting policies and other explanatory notes. In our opinion, the consolidated and separate financial statements give a true and fair view of the state of affairs of the consolidated and separate financial position of John Holt PLC and its subsidiary companies as at 30th September 2021, and of its financial performance and cash flows for the year then ended, in accordance with the International Financial Reporting Standards issued by the International Accounting Standards Board, and in compliance with the relevant provisions of the Financial Reporting Council of Nigeria Act No. 6 of 2011 and the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020. Basis of opinion. We conducted our audit in accordance with International Standards on Auditing, ISAs. Our responsibility under those standards are further described in the auditor's responsibility for the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements section of this report. We are independent of the group in accordance with the International Ethics Standards Board for Accountants Code of Ethics for Professional Accountants, together with other ethical requirements that are relevant to our audit of the financial statements in Nigeria. And we have fulfilled our other ethical responsibilities in accordance with these requirements and the International Ethics Standards Board. We believe that the audit evidence we have obtained is sufficient and to provide a basis for our opinion. Key audit matters. Key audit matters relate to issues that in our professional judgment is of most significance in our audit of the financial statements of the current year. These matters were addressed in the context of our audit of the financial statements as a whole, and informing our opinion thereon. Therefore, we do not provide a separate opinion on these matters. Revenue recognition. Revenue is recognized when invoices are raised and not when goods are delivered and acknowledged by the customers. There is possibility that revenue may be recognized when all the performance obligations have not been satisfied. Our response. Our audit procedures included, among others, the following: vouched a sample of goods supplied to revenue recorded for the year. For a sample of goods dispatched or supplied, agreed to invoice and invoice listing. For cash sales, traced cash received to cash received register. For credit sales, traced sales to customers' account statement. Agreed sales terms to approved credit notes. Ensured that sales relate to the appropriate period. Confirmed revenue cycle cutoff from invoices recorded. We obtained details of invoices raised over the 1 week on either side of the year end. Verified that related goods were supplied and delivered in the matching accounting period. Confirmed existence of sales. Obtained and reviewed sales sample basis, copies of way bills acknowledged by the customers. Reviewed sales returns after the year end. Valuation of investment property. The company and the group and the company's investment properties were revalued by Messrs. Knight Frank Nigeria, estate surveyors and valuers, chartered surveyors, at a value of 4.94 billion and 2.77 billion respectively, as at 30th September 2021. 2020, the values were 4.85 billion and 2.71 billion. These valuations are dependent on certain assumptions and significant judgments, including capitalization rates and fair market rates. Our response. Our procedures in relation to the management of valuation of investment properties included evaluation of the independent external valuer's competence, capabilities, and objectivity, assessing the methodologies used and the appropriateness of the key assumptions, checking the accuracy and relevance of the input data used, valuation of inventory. Inventory forms a significant part of the group's assets, amounting to 416 million as at 30th September 2021. Inventory is carried in the financial statements at the lower of cost and net realizable value. The net realizable value is the estimated selling price of in the ordinary course of business, less the estimated costs of completion and estimated costs necessary to make the sale. Determination of the net realizable value requires management estimate, which might be subjective. As a result, there is a risk that the carrying value of inventory may not be accurately reported, particularly when the realizable value is not properly determined. Our response. Our audit procedures included, among others, the following: net realizable value testing. For a sample of items in inventory, we verified that the final setting price is above cost after making provision for an additional cost to completion and cost to sell. For sales price, checked selling price to price list, prior and current invoicing, etc., allowing for any normal trade and quality discounts. For costs to sell, reviewed computations of selling costs, then obtained an understanding of the reason for any item that had an NRV, which is the net realizable value, less than the cost, and consider the need for a provision on any such items. Then price test. Obtained inventory valuation report as at year end. Agreed the valuation to the group accounting policy. Agreed valuation to the physical inventory count report. Selected using video sampling techniques, sampling approach, the inventory value for testing, obtained inventory ledgers for selected items, extracted opening inventory in quantity and value, obtained weighted average per unit of purchases in quantity and value, compared with weighted average used for valuation, and investigated any differences noted. Responsibilities of the directors for the consolidated and separate financial statements. The directors are responsible for the preparation and fair presentation of the consolidated and separate financial statements in accordance with International Financial Reporting Standards issued by the International Accounting Standards Board and in compliance with the relevant provisions of the Financial Reporting Council Act of Nigeria, number 6 of 2011, and the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, and for such internal controls as the director determined is necessary to enable the preparation of consolidated and separate statements that are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error. In preparing the financial statements, the directors are responsible for assessing the company's and group's ability to continue as a going concern, disclosing as appropriate matters related to going concern, and using the going concern basis of accounting unless the directors either intend to liquidate the company and its subsidiaries, or to cease operations, or have no realistic alternative but to do so. Other information. The directors are responsible for the other information. The other information comprises the information in the chairman's statement and director's report, but does not include the consolidated and separate consolidated financial statements and our auditor's report thereon. Our opinion on the consolidated and separate financial statements does not cover the other information, and we do not express any form of assurance conclusion thereon. In connection with our audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements, our responsibility is to read the other information, and in doing so, consider whether the other information is materially inconsistent with the consolidated and separate financial statements and our knowledge obtained during the audit, or otherwise appears to be materially misstated. If based on what we have performed, we conclude that there is a material misstatement of this information, we are required to report that fact. We have nothing to report in this regard. Auditor's responsibility for the audit of the consolidated and separate financial statements. Our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the consolidated and separate financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatement, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue a report that includes our opinion. Reasonable assurance is a high level of assurance, but it's not a guarantee that an audit conducted in accordance with international standards on auditing will always detect a material misstatement when it exists. Misstatements can arise from fraud or error and are considered to be material if, individually or in aggregate, they could reasonably be expected to influence the economic decisions of users taken on the basis of these consolidated and separate financial statements. As part of our audit, in accordance with international standards on auditing, we exercise professional judgment and maintain professional skepticism throughout the audit. We also identify and assess the risks of material misstatement of the consolidated and separate financial statements, whether due to fraud or error, design and perform the audit procedures responsive to those risks, and obtain evidence that is sufficient and appropriate to provide a basis for our opinion. The risk of detecting a misstatement resulting from fraud is higher than one resulting from error, as fraud may involve collusion, forgery, intentional omission, misrepresentations, or the override of internal controls. Obtain an understanding of internal controls relevant to the audit in order to design audit procedures that are appropriate in the circumstances, but not for the purpose of expressing an opinion on the effectiveness of the group and company's internal controls. evaluate the appropriateness of accounting policies used and the reasonableness of accounting estimates and related disclosure requirements made by the directors. Conclude on the appropriateness of the director's use of the going concern basis of accounting, and based on audit evidence obtained, whether a material uncertainty exists related to events or conditions that may cast significant doubt on the group and the company's ability to continue as a going concern. If we conclude that a material uncertainty exists, we are required to draw attention in the auditor's report to the related disclosures in the consolidated and separate financial statements, or if such disclosures are inadequate, to modify our opinion. Our conclusions are based on the audit evidence obtained as at the date of our auditor's report. However, future events or conditions may cause the company and its subsidiary to continue as a going concern. Then evaluate the overall presentation, structure, and content of the consolidated and separate financial statements, including the disclosures and whether the group and the company's financial statements represent the underlying transactions and events in a manner that achieves fair presentation. We communicate with the directors regarding, among other matters, the planned scope and timing of the audit, and significant audit findings and any significant deficiencies in internal control that we identify during the audit. Report on other legal and regulatory requirements. The Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 requires that in carrying out our audit, we consider and report to you on the following matters. We confirm that 1. We have obtained all the information and explanations which, to the best of our knowledge and belief, were necessary for the purpose of our audit. 2. In our opinion, proper books of account have been kept by the company and its subsidiaries. And 3. The company and its subsidiaries' statement of financial position and statement of profit or loss and other comprehensive income are in agreement with the books. Signed by Olubemiga A. Akibayo, FRC 2013/ICANN/number 1076 for BDO Professional Services Chartered Accountants, and dated in Lagos, Nigeria on the 14th of January 2022. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Akibayo. That was a long one. In accordance with the provisions of Section 4047 of CAMA 2020, the Audit Committee duly carried out their duties as required on the accounts for the period ended 30th September 2022. Now, call on the Chairman of the Audit Committee, Chief Guru Akuma, to read the Audit Committee report, which is on 24 of
Report of the Audit Committee to members of John Holt PSC. John Holt PSC compliance with regulatory requirements. The company continues to ensure that it complies with all regulatory requirements as there were no contraventions during the year ended 30th September 2021. In accordance with the provisions of Section 4047 of the Companies and Allied Matters Act of Nigeria 2020, we confirm that the accounting and reporting policies of the group are in accordance with legal requirements and agreed ethical practices. In our opinion, the scope and planning of the audits for the year ended 30th September 2021 were adequate, and having reviewed the auditor's report and opinion, as well as the findings on management matters, we are satisfied with the opinion as well as the management responses thereto. Dated this 14th day of January 2022, E. Oluwakon, Chairman. Members of the committee are Olu Akone, shareholder. Christopher Awagbo, shareholder. Samuel Ipamugu, shareholder. Adumba Renwood Chibono, director, appointed on 17th of February 2022. Mr. David Townley, director, member. Mr. Paul News, director, member, was deceased on the 11th of November 2021. Mr. Sharif Yusuf, director, member, resigned 31st December 2021. The current secretary served as the secretary to the committee. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I shall be pleased to answer any questions on the report and accounts before we proceed to the next item of business. The accounts have been presented and to answer questions and listen to comments that you have.
Thank you. Good morning, the chairman, members of the board of John Holt Nigeria PLC, regulatory authority representatives present, our registrars, and of course, my fellow shareholders, both present here and those watching us online. I say good morning to you. My name is Chief Timothy Adishino, a proxy representing shareholders at this meeting. Thank you. I stand tall to thank the board, staff and management of John Holt PLC for not allowing the name of this company to go to the mud. We appreciate the fact that year in, year out, you have been standing tall to make sure that the annual reports are presented to shareholders, and this year is not an exemption. I will like to refer you to page 6 of this annual report. Page 6 is about the notice of the annual general meeting, and I point out there that the chairman, Chief Eze, who has been with us over the years and who has been working assiduously to ensure the continued existence of John Holt PLC, is asking for re-election as a member of the board, and I see that, or I suggest that we have no option, since the chairman is still able and still capable of performing all the necessary functions of a chairman. And also, because he has given this notice required under the law about his age, and we are conscious of all this over the years. And I'm saying at this point that Nigerian shareholders will definitely re-elect our chairman. Thank you very much. I thank the board, staff and management for their performance. If you go to page 15 of this annual report, you will see that we have a revenue of 1,186 million as against 1.831 million last year. There has been a reduction in this. This is mainly due to COVID, because the company has not been able to perform some of its selling outfit, and also because there has not been much demand for their products. I will also like to speak on about page 64 and 65 of this account, which is on the finance list with Fidelity Bank. I would like to have an explanation on what we are actually doing with Fidelity Bank, and we are grateful that they are always supporting us financially whenever we need them. I'm however concerned with page 52 of this account. On page 52, you will see a list of subsidiaries. Over the years, a list of subsidiaries. Under segment 1, we have 5 companies. Under segment 2, we have 11 companies, totaling about 16 companies. I stand to have the feeling that this might be leading to overtrading if actually we are effecting what we have to do under the obligations of all these subsidiaries and other ventures which we are going into. I'm also going to comment on our Yamaco product. This product, this Yamaco business, has been described as a company that is the leading company in this country in the manufacturing of all marine boats, and they have even succeeded years back to produce a boat with 60 passengers. I don't know why we are not commercializing on this, especially in an area like this Lagos, where we have the water and we have workers crossing water every day to go to their work. Maybe if we can finance some of these boats as commercial ventures, maybe other people may copy it. And also, the boat is constructed in such a way that it is sink proof because of the kind of materials used in the construction. And other companies are even copying us, producing this kind of boats. And it is on record that even the people constructing this kind of boats have either been trained by John Holtz in the past, or they have worked previously with John Holtz or Marine before. So I'm suggesting that we try and commercialize on this Yamaco boats, especially to be conveying people or workers from Ikorodu down to Lagos Island every day. This will give us a lot of money. I mentioned about Fidelity Bank and our dealings with them. I would like to hear about the finance list which we have with them, about which I mentioned of the 64 and 65. I'm grateful to Fidelity Bank, and they couldn't have done otherwise, because our chairman has been a father and a former chairman of that company, of that bank, in the years where we were not even known. And after bringing them up to a reasonable size, he left them, and we are happy that the bank is still progressing. I will at this point thank the staff, management, and the board for staying firm and for ensuring that John Holt is still alive. I will also sympathize with the company on the death of Mr. News, who has been a very strong backup of our company in Liverpool. Is always there for us to fight our case over the years. Once more, I say I wish this company the very best, especially after this COVID. We should be expecting very tough AGMs, because the shareholders are not happy and they are not always present at our meetings. And you know how our AGMs used to be those years. And most of the questions shareholders used to ask that time still have not been mentioned, have not been answered. And that is a dividend, which the chairman has promised that something will be done about it very soon. I want the very soon to be now, and to be maybe by the next time we are doing our AGM, we shall have some palatable stories to tell Nigerians. And I pray that God will continue to strengthen the life of our indefatigable chairman, Chief Eze, who is putting all his blood into running the affairs of this company. Thank you. God bless us all.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, good morning, regulatory authorities here present, good morning. Everybody in this hall, I greet everybody. Mr. Chairman, I cannot but lend my voice to the voice of the first speaker in commiserating with the company with the loss of Mr. Paul. He is so rest in perfect peace. Mr. Chairman, on page 11. Page 11, I have the breakdown of the revenue as per our unit of business, their contribution the stage at which they are this year under review. Some of them still maintain the figure we had last year, while some recorded negative results, but less negative than what we had the previous years. I want to talk on John Holt. Holt service. Holt service actually recorded less negative impartation on our accounts. And I want to say that in all these units of our businesses, we still have to go back and strategize on those units of our business and see how we can move them forward, so that, like the earlier speaker said, we can have a very good result to consider when we meet again next year. Then I noted that this whole service, there are incursion of fake alternatives into those spare parts. So I just want to ask, we as a company, or what can we do to get to the government in such a way that all these importation of fake this thing that will be affecting the indigenous company on ground here, they will assist us in letting them in the board. I think we should have a role to play as a company that is directly affected in all these things. Then on our boat, as earlier spoken to by the earlier speaker, my own take on this is this ban two-stroke engines. I don't know whether we are thinking or already we have alternative brand that can be introduced for use in replacement of this ban one, and it will give us a very good sellout. Mr. Chairman, going to page 15. Despite all odds, we are able to make a donation. It's so wonderful. Because God says, those that give it shall receive. And I pray God to continue to bless us. On page 22, corporate governance. I want to commend the commitment and attendance of both the board and the audit committee members at their meetings. It shows commitment, and I appreciate them for that. They should keep it in line and continue that way. Page 22. I want to appreciate our 100% regulatory requirement compliance. We need to keep it up. For now, we don't have much, and we don't have to be paying unnecessary penalties and all this stuff. Mr. Chairman, I want to appreciate the management prudence on page 54 under the distribution expenses and the administrative expenses. I'm happy to know that a lot of the figure we had last year, we still maintain them. They are, except with the exception of the communication, under the distribution expenses that went up a bit, and under the administrative expenses, from 19 to 26. So that now make me to ask the question about this communication expenses, communication. So why is it up on both sides? Mr. Chairman, on page 63, and I want to take it along with page 69, receivables. Our receivable, though the figure came down, but I still want us to work more on our receivables so that it will impact when we have less receivables, it will impact positively on our bottom line. On page 69, Mr. Chairman, which will be my last comment, contingent liability. Contingent liabilities. There is a figure there, but our legal personnel says we should go home and rest, that this may not amount to much. But sometimes I'm always very skeptical about all these statements that we normally see on the annual accounts, that it cannot amount to much. But on the other hand, as we are looking at it that way, the other people involved might be looking at it the other way too. So we need to be abreast of all these issues so that it won't turn out to be what we are not expecting. Thank you very much, sir, for giving me the opportunity to address this matter. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Are there any other questions or comments? If not, I'll address the ones we received. Thank you very much. Have expressed the mind of and the views of our shareholders. Let me start with Chief Timothy Adesina's comments. First, let me say that every year we get advice from our shareholders and we don't take them lightly. We always make sure we go through them after the board meetings, and whichever action we think is necessary, we take it before the next one. Of course, we thank you for your kind comments on the board and on myself. And you talked about the reduction in revenue due to COVID, which is quite true. Going through very difficult times during COVID. And all our customers also, mainly the IOCs, also went through the same problem. So business was quite low. We are recovering from the effects of COVID. Of course, Nigeria is not yet over when the economic problems are there.
Making us more.
You talked about the subsidiaries being 16 or more. Chief Timothy. They are not 16 actually. They are divisions rather than subsidiaries. These are divisions within companies and not subsidiary companies of the group. Yamaco, yes, we mentioned Yamaco, Marine, in the boat building business. We produce unsinkable boats. And over the years, we produce quite a few. We produce work boats, pleasure boats, and even boats that are used by the oil industry. But again, most of the problem is because that companies prefer to import boats rather than buy them. And unfortunately, these are mainly the military boats. They buy a lot of boats, but most of them prefer to import rather than buy local. But we are talking with them to see the possibilities of sourcing some of their goods from us. You mentioned the fact that you think that we should commercialize the boats using in Lagos. Very good idea. We tried a lot of that in the past. Tried to sell boats to the Lagos state government about a few. But again, it's the same attitude buying from overseas. And of course, if you go to places like Hong Kong, you see that boats are used a lot for transportation. And in Lagos, it's really ideal because we're coming from Papa to Ghana. It will take you just a few minutes to cross. You understand that Lagosians are not too keen in using boats for transportation. They would rather do the 2-hour rather than enter a boat. That's a culture that probably in the future will change, but we'll continue to push to make sure that it happens. We talked about dividend, which is a burning issue for shareholders. The board and management think about this, talk about it, and work towards it. Unfortunately, because we haven't really made any substantial profits over the years, we have been unable to pay them. We are hoping that during this coming year, we are hoping, praying, and working towards trying to make some payment. So we have you in mind, and we will do it as soon as possible. Manager, we thank you for your own contribution to accounts for this. You mentioned that you should try and strategize on the business units so that we can make more profit. And I assure you that we have a standing committee of that working towards it. The question of fake parts is something that is easier than one unit. To work with others to bring it to the government. The government on their own are trying to go like SON that goes through some of these imports. And people are the ones that check for spare parts. And Nigeria is such a difficult place to spare parts. Everything has a fake and an original. If you go to markets, there has to be one fake or one original. And this is affecting genuine businesses like us. Because we cannot see ourselves importing fake parts for a business, not because we want to make it profit. It's a problem that Nigeria is confronting. We work with all people, all the businesses that are affected in the same way. You mentioned the ban on two-stroke engines. Yes, we haven't found an alternative. Two-stroke engines are still the most popular engines around. But although they are banned, you still find them around in shops. People import them, some import them from Dubai, some import them from wherever they can. Again, we cannot indulge in that type of thing. We cannot smuggle in engines. Because the government banned it, we have to stay with the ban. Try and work our way through. Sometimes we have to buy it locally because we can't import it. And the government will have it in us. Thank you for all the nice things you said about donations, corporate governance, compliance with regulatory requirements, good control of expenses, communication. We know everything is going on. You don't have telephones and what they do. So when you have branches all over, you have to make calls and all that. We're trying to get them on. You mentioned receivables. Yes, the receivables appear high. Actually, our trade receivables are within control. the big item you see there are something like withholding tax, which appears as part of trade and other receivables. So the trade receivables are other receivables are what you have as withholding tax. The final thing you mentioned is about contingent liabilities. Well, you know, we're in a country where people go to court for all sorts of things. So what happens is, at the end of the year, you have to assess all the items that are outstanding in court with our legal advisors. And I can tell you that over the years, their advice has always held true. I don't think we are exposed to any big legends. So I thank you for your contributions. We're certainly going to take them into account in whatever we are doing. As a family, we cannot ignore what was said to us. Thank you. I hope next year we'll have a better report to present. Thank you. Since there are no further questions or comments on the Director's report and financial statements for the year ended 30th September 2021, since taken, accounts are taken as received, and we will now move to the next item on the agenda. There are 7 items on the agenda to be deliberated on today. I hereby call a poll on items 2, 3, 6, and 7 on the agenda, pursuant to section 234 from Formal 2020. Therefore, voting for the resolution in respect of each agenda item will be carried out electronically. Each shareholder has been given a voting device. Hope you all got the voting device. And the results will be displayed online. All those attending the show review. Please note that as they are ordinary resolutions, each resolution requires 50% of the total vote cast in order to be passed. I will now invite the registrars to provide an explanation on electronic voting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.
Can we have the slide, please? Voting for a resolution commences and ends in 30 seconds. The voting results will be displayed immediately each voting session ends. The results will be displayed in shareholding, percentage, and unit holding. Please refrain from touching any other button on the voting pad except 1, 2, and 3. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Since I, the chairman, am retired and eligible for re-election, I will step aside and hand over to Mr. Adem Jibuni to conduct the re-election of the directors. Mr. Jibuni.
At this meeting, Chief Eze and Mr. Teche are being elected for the office of the election. Are there any questions? Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. The chairman we already know. Mr. Adeche, can you rise for resolution? Please, sir. Re-election of the chairman. I hereby move that Chief Christopher Ikecheze be and is hereby re-elected as a director of the company. Thank you.
Thank you. Dear shareholders, you may now vote, please. From the results, we have 100% in favor of the resolution. In units, we have 206,194,000 units in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution to re-elect Chief Eze as the director of the company has been passed. The next is re-election of Mr. Adeche. I hereby move that Mr. Adeche Boye be and is hereby re-elected as the director of the company. Will another shareholder please rise and second this motion?
I so second.
Thank you.
Timothy Adeche.
Thank you, sir. I now hand over to the registrar to conduct the poll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I have the slides, please? You may now vote. We have 100% in favor of the resolution. 206,194,000 units in favor of the resolution.
Thank you. Thank you, Registrar. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that a resolution to re-elect Mr. Adeche as the director of the company has been passed. Yes, shareholders, I hereby present Chief Eze and Mr. Adeche. Please join me in congratulating our re-elected director who I wish him the best in his service of our company. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your confidence. The vote. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda is to authorize the directors to fix the remuneration of the auditors. Section 408(1)B of Common 2020 stipulates that the remuneration of the external auditors will be fixed by the company in general meeting and in such manner as the company in general meeting will determine. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? No questions. The shareholder kindly move that the director be and are authorized to fix the remuneration and the expenses of auditors in the state of the year ending 30th December 2022.
Hi, Chief Timothy Adeche. I see you.
Thank you very much. Will another shareholder please rise and second this motion? Thank you. Thank you very much. So we can now put it to vote. The registry.
Yes. You may now vote, please. We have 100% in favor of the resolution. In units, 206,194,000 194,000 units in favor of the resolution. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution authorizes the directors to fix the remuneration and expenses of auditors in respect of year ending 30 September 2022 has been passed. Thank you very much. Agenda item 4, to disclose the remuneration of the managers of the company in accordance with the provisions of CAMA 2020. That's page 17. This is from noting. Agenda item 5. The next item on the agenda is the election of members of the audit committee. Section 4044 of CAMA 2020 provides that a maximum of 5 members of the audit committee and 3 representatives of the shareholders be elected at an annual general meeting. The Act further provides that in the case of the election of the shareholders representatives, nominations should be received not later than 21 days before the date of the meeting. The Board of Directors has nominated the following family, who is online. Since the Board has made valid nominations as required by Section 4044, there is no need to vote. I hereby declare that the 2 directors are thereby appointed as members of the audit committee representing the directors. Ladies and gentlemen, there are 3 more seats to be filled in accordance with the CAMA 2020 on the audit committee. 3 nominees were received from the shareholders, and they are Chief Olu Apami, who is here, Olu Apami, Mr. Christopher Omago, and Mr. Samuel Apami. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting? Okay, since there are only 3 nominations as required by law, there will be no need for election. Will the shareholder kindly move that Chief Olu Apami, Mr. Christopher Omago, and Mr. Samuel Apami will be and are hereby elected members of the audit committee to serve until the conclusion of the AGM. Thank you. Okay, thank you. There will be no need for an election. So we assume that the next item on the agenda is to fix remuneration of directors required by law. The approval of the remuneration payable to the non-executive directors is the result of the general meeting. In this case, we are seeking for approval of the remuneration of non-executive directors, and be one of the non-executive directors. I think I should pass it on to the
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning again. The next item on the agenda is to fix remuneration of directors as required by law. The approval of the remuneration payable to the non-executive directors is to be sought at the general meeting. In this case, the remuneration of the non-executive directors remains the same as last year. Would the shareholder kindly move that the remuneration of the non-executive directors for the year ending 30th September 2022 be approved?
I so move. I'm Chief Timothy Alisu.
Thank you, sir.
Would another shareholder please rise and second this motion?
I saw you.
Thank you, madam. I now hand over to the registrar to conduct the poll.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. You may now vote, please. We have 100% in favor of the resolution, which translates to 206,194 units in favor of the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you. Following the results of the voting as announced by the registrar, I hereby declare that the resolution that the directors fixed their remuneration for the year ending 30th September 2022 be approved has been passed. Thank you. Thank you very much. We are now on agenda item 7. I propose that the general mandate given to the company to enter into necessary transactions with related parties in compliance with the Nigerian Stock Exchange rules governing transactions with related parties here removed. Are there any questions before the motion is put to the meeting?
No questions.
Thank you. Since there are no further questions, we shall proceed. I will now hand over to the registrar to conduct the poll.
You may now vote.
It's not seconded.
No, it's not seconded.
Okay, my second motion.
Thank you.
Okay.
Dear shareholders, you may now vote, please. We have 100% in favor of the resolution. 206,194,000 minutes in favor of the resolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The resolution has been carried. Ladies and gentlemen, I've come to the end of the agenda. On behalf of the board, I thank you for your attendance at this meeting. I wish to express our appreciation for your continued interest and support for our company over the years. In the absence of any other business, ladies and gentlemen, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you. Can somebody please say the closing prayers for us?
All the
Nigeria's called to serve our fatherland with love and strength and faith. The labor of our heroes past shall never be in vain. To serve with heart and mind, one nation bound in freedom, peace and unity.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
They get a very long one to Thank you very much.